Hello, good morning. Welcome into another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. It is the 8th day of December, year of our Lord 2025. It is a beautiful, crisp day out here. It is quite cold, so I think some cold weather is coming to you, Huddie, across the lakes, across the lands, towards your direction. But it's just coming up on the 9 o'clock hour here. We got a couple gappers that we're going to talk about. My name is Dom. That is Huddy. If you're new around here, hello, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you like the content, if you like what we're talking about. We try to have a good time here. Talk about the biggest gappers in small cap land. Go through why they're up. What's the catalyst? Is there any themes going on currently in the market with these small cap gappers? Huddy gives us the rundown on any potential dilution. We take a look at the daily charts, see if there's anything that we want to do with them. Most of the time there isn't. And then we answer a few questions and we get on out of here. And we try to get on out of here by 9:15, 9:20. So get those questions in if you do have them, and we have time towards the end. We will get to those. We got Trash Panda in here, Warren, Mash for Fun, Drummer Max, Muhammad, Sly Cosine, no thanks. Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys doing as we kick off? What is it? The second full week of December. Couple weeks of action until we kind of run into that secondary holiday stretch where I think this year Christmas kind of falls in the middle of the week. I think it's like a Wednesday, which means New Year's will fall on the following Wednesday. Great time for football. We'll see. Stay tuned if it's a good time for trading during that stretch. But believe it or not, we're approaching that time. And then before you know it, it will be 2026. I don't know about you, Huddy, but that's crazy. It doesn't feel like 2025 just started, but I don't know if I feel like it's ending, but it is. We don't get to control that. So I hope you guys stay safe out there. Hope you learned a lot throughout this year, whether you were involved in Clover or you're just hanging out with us for free here on YouTube. I think this was a great learning year. I think as long as you're moving forward, you're getting better, you're experiencing the market. If we plan to do this for a long time, each year, each month, each day should offer us valuable insights. And if we're not taking those insights and doing something with them, we're going stagnant, we're going sideways, or we're going backwards. And we don't want to be doing that, do we, Huddy?
No.
Huddy has enlightened me that he finally has his quote here about a week later. So if you want to wait till the end, you can wait till the end. If you want to just do it right now, go ahead and hit us with it.
All right, we'll start with the quote. Remember, these it takes a while for me to come up with these. They have to be perfect. They have to be great. They have to come to me in a vision, a facade. God has to talk to me.
Did you
I actually
write
gave
this?
a great one. No, this is not the quote yet. I'm disclaiming. That's a disclaimer. I actually gave a great quote on a webinar this week. You weren't there for it, but we dropped some knowledge.
Don't you hate when you
all right.
give away, when you say something like, you're like, oh my gosh, that was a huge golden nugget, and it's just hidden away in Clover, and you're like, that was really smart. I said something really good.
I was like in the middle of the webinar. I was like, Dom, clip that. You weren't even in the webinar. All right. The wolf on the hill is not as hungry as the wolf climbing the hill.
That's true. Wow. Is there something on the hill? Like a lamb or a sheep or?
I'll break it down for you. It suggests that those who have already achieved success or reached a comfortable position are not as motivated as those who are still striving for it.
I believe it. Yeah. When you're on the journey, it's the Miley Cyrus song, The Climb, right?
Yeah, one of my favorites.
It is an absolute banger. And if you're going through a tough time, I recommend you throw it on repeat when you're sitting there trying to meditate or you're struggling with a big loss or something. There's always going to be another mountain. I'm always going to want to make it move.
Wow.
Always going to be an uphill battle. Sometimes, I don't know, something you're going to want to move. But, it's the journey. It's not the destination, especially when it comes to trading. If you've had any success, you've made six figures, you've made $1 million, you've made multiple millions. There is something to be said about that period when you are just hungry for more, reaching new milestones. I don't think we should ever let that curiosity go. That's why we talk so much about trying to improve upon our weaknesses, recapping how we're doing, so that way, I think we talked about it on Friday, just that whole, like, are you really ever profitable if you can lose it all in a day? Consistency is important. Constant growth is important. And I like to quote, I like the quote here as we enter the second week of December. Stay hungry. Be the wolf on the hill. Okay, everybody? Be the wolf on the hill.
Write that down. Top of your watch list. Be the wolf on the hill.
Chasing the sheep.
I don't know.
I always kind of envision myself as a lion. A lion in the grass.
Nothing about sheep. Okay. Stalking its prey.
Just like you're always there. You're kind of in the woods, and it's just like, I'm going to have a big win soon. I'm going to have a big trade. I'm just stalking it, waiting for the right opportunity. All right. Welcome in, everybody. If you have any questions on tickers, let us know. Muhammad says risk aren't there. All gappers there, nano float except Folk, which is its float is more than 50 mil. Too big, kind of boring. Yeah, so let's talk about the biggest gappers of the day and see what we got. I'm getting that CETX is our biggest gapper. I see a couple other like super low float gappers from Friday afternoon. Man, a couple that are in the 5 to 700K area. Let's talk about it. CETX, biggest gapper. Semtrex, software infrastructure company out of the United States, 740K float. I believe this is one we have seen before in our lives. Maybe not, but it sounds familiar. News is that I don't have any. I'm guessing it is running because it is a low float stock near its lows. And that is all it takes right now. When we talk about themes, we talk about, sector momentum. It doesn't always have to be, it's an energy stock and this is an energy stock. Sometimes it can be, it's a low float. It's Chinese. Don't be so biased in what you expect a theme to be. Let the theme present itself and follow along with that journey. And we saw some pretty crazy moves last week with, AHMA, SMX, some plays into the end of the week, which we'll talk about here in a second. Low flow garbage, skipping up. We even saw PLRZ go from like the $7 area into the 20s. A lot of movement from sub $10 to over $20. And in SMX case, all the way up to $400, $500. So that seems to be what's interesting right now. I know that probably terrifies Huddie. It's not my favorite sector either because they usually don't let us involved without a ton of risk, whether it be on the long side or the short side. But we will talk about it. Do you have any news that I'm not seeing on CETX?
I was waiting for the ticker.
CETX.
Did you say you didn't see any news?
I don't have any on the main screen.
I don't see any either.
Okay, so that's probably just a low float garbage. Do you see anything here that interests you for potential dilution? I'm seeing overall risk is pretty low. Cashing is low. The cash flow positive. I don't see any ability to offer.
They could change some prices of current warrants that are above to an area where they can actually use them, and that would help them pay off some debt that they have. Like there could be an intention here. This used to be a stock that ran in COVID, hasn't really run since. It is a micro float, probably an SMX sympathy. So if there is an agenda, there could be a warrant inducement. Otherwise, it's just kind of low float garbage being chased around by day traders.
Yeah, certainly top left to bottom right. Some reverse splits in there as well. It's actually been pretty non-existent for a few years now. There haven't really been any big volume days, any big movements. Any developments in the stock, really, because we've just kind of been fading off, which makes this kind of one of those sketchy daily charts where there's a lot of range because of reverse splits and a higher price, up 200% right now, and you're talking about a 740K float. I'm going to give you the same warning that I give every time I see stocks under 1 mil float. I don't think Huddie trades them on the short side on day one if they are too small. I'm sure this would fit into that category. And that isn't because I don't think that they don't necessarily work in terms of they fade like other gappers. I think it has more to do with risk management, and that if you're trying to build a system that encourages small losses and encourages bigger winners, or at least winning at a high win percent, and having relatively little bit bigger winners than losers, big losses are the enemy of those systems. And these stocks tend to make losing bigger easier, because they tend to skip, they tend to halt, they tend to have thinner spreads, and the price action can get a little wild. Even if you predict correctly which direction it's going to go, it might be difficult to stop out where you want. And that is a problem when it comes to risk management, and that being kind of a key pillar of what profitable trading is. So even if I think I have a good read on a lot of these stocks, which I don't really usually ever, my trade at SMX yesterday or the other last week is kind of like a one-off in terms of like most of them that, most CETXs that pop up are never going to fall into my world unless they're on like the backside, maybe as a reversal. And that is the main reason. They are just a little sketchy. They're hard to manage risk on. And I just don't like taking 2-3 hour slippage for just an average play. So we're gapping up 200%. We were a lot higher earlier today. I think on the daily chart, I could see that this went up towards 20, and now we're back down towards 10, kind of fading off of those highs, lower highs and new lows. Not sure where this will open, but with 21 minutes to go, it looks like it's still going to be 100-200% gap up, which kind of makes me feel like anything's possible. What type of volume are we looking at right now? Already 41 million. That's actually quite a lot for this type of range already. So I don't know if you have any thoughts. I kind of look at this as more of like, is the theme going to continue this week, or is it going to start to lose steam? And if that's the case, maybe some of these gappers fizzle out sooner. As more people believe that every stock's going to 100, they stop going higher and start to actually go back down. I expect that to happen at some point this week, but it doesn't mean we can't get some runners off of that momentum. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Well, I like what you just said there. I don't think like, and I don't even know if CET actually really consider like mainly part of the sector. I mean, it's just missing the fact that it's like a sketchy Chinese company. Maybe it is. But like TGL is definitely within that sector, and TWG is another one that started going off on Friday. Those are just stocks that are gapping up today. That I guess we'll eventually talk about since we're talking about the sympathy plays. And these are like direct sympathies to SMX. These are just like sketchy, low float Chinese companies that are just like very sketchy. CETX, yeah, I think falls in the same boat. Like, I don't think any of these are going to go to 100 plus. I could be wrong, but like, and it doesn't mean I'm going to short them and risk 100 plus, right? Like, that's also not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that these things will have the same momentum that SMX had at the end of the day. I don't really know what they're going to do. I don't really want to step in front of low floats. I think anything's kind of possible, although a lot of them already had big moves. And like, again, I still think it's unlikely that they go back and test the highs, but it could happen.
Yeah, and the more of them that we have, I feel like, you start to get into that sprinkle odds of like maybe 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 kind of looks, might get some strength and might pop up or stay around a little longer than you think. But that is CETX, your biggest gapper of the day, up over 200% right now. Excited to see kind of where a lot of these fall towards the end of the day, if anything does hold up and we get some more fireworks this week. Next biggest gapper that Huddie mentioned there was TGL, Treasure Global. This is one that popped up, kind of ran actually throughout Friday, and then did the after hours shuffle where we just go up 300% in 20 minutes. So let's take a look at that one. Another low flow, 830K. Like when we say low flow, I probably mean less than like 10 mil. When I say 830K, I mean like red flag should go up, like micro flow is in the house. Treasure Global. Let's see if there was any news on Friday. They had news on the 3rd, which was a 1 for 20 reverse split. And I'm guessing that went through before Friday. Market opened December 5th. So it did reverse split. The float did become very little. And that was probably a nice candidate for some people to attack who wanted to see low float stocks go wild. And then they had some news today that they're updating their revenue outlook. I don't believe them, whatever they say. What do we got here dilutionally?
Which one?
TGL, Steve. I don't really see anything.
I don't either. They put out some earnings that are talking about huge growth. It's probably kind of some type of manufactured BS in some way or another. I mean, this is again, it's like this. These are mainly up because of this theme, and like I expect with low floats, it's kind of hard for them to like do a bunch of dilution because their market cap is so low. Although when they get to the 50, 60, 70 range, we start to get a different story a little bit out of them. But like, this thing's up a lot and bad things can happen. That's kind of how I feel about it. Not that I can like pinpoint anything specifically from what I'm looking at right here. But I'd be wary about being long up here.
Yeah. A couple higher volume days that topped out in the 20s, in the 30s. Recent reverse split from last week. So this daily chart's going to be kind of morphed in that direction. Something I would note is that pretty much any day the stock has gapped up, you're looking at red candles back down to where it came from. So it does not really have a great history of even just closing above the open price, let alone spiking all that much. So, when you talking about an 800K float, that script could change quickly if there's enough momentum there. But this is one where the odds suggest will not have a strong big day that holds up and goes into tomorrow. But past behavior does not indicate future something, right? Use your Warren Buffett's. And because that, I probably will avoid stuff like this today. But, it is kind of a day two stock that is gapping up 100%. So whether you're looking at it as like a front side short, whether you're looking at it as a gap and crap, and kind of ignoring Friday's move from like the 7s to the 30s. Jeez, I didn't even see that one until late afternoon. It's up a lot. It's fading off those highs from after hours, and we'll see there. But again, kind of feels like sympathy to what we saw last week, which was low floats running wild. Kind of have a feeling just in my gut that those fireworks won't be for long, and some of these will fade off pretty hard. But again, managing risk in those situations, especially on the ones that don't work for you, could be quite, whatever I said, difficult. All right. Couple minutes left. Huddie, we got two gappers around 60, 70%. Did you want to hit on one of them, the TWG one? Because you thought it was another sympathy to all this?
I mean, like, I feel like I already said my point. Chart. Like these TWGs, these TGLs, they're just like piece of crap companies that are gapping up because they're micro floats, and they absolutely can dilute, and they might dilute. Like the risk is high on all of these. These are all horrible companies, right? Gapping up on pure momentum buying from degenerates all around the world. So like when they run out of money and stop buying, like, or when the company decides to do something with the newfound capital appreciation within their stock, like bad things can happen. So that's kind of like my thought with all of them. I'd be short biased on all of them had they not been sketchy Chinese low float companies. I just want to stay away from that. But I don't think it ends well.
Yeah. When we kind of have days like this where we have multiple stocks that we kind of all talk about the same way, it's usually because I have the same type of idea, which is not a ton of interest unless they become daily chart patterns. At this point, you're looking at a lot of stuff running wild in pre-market and after hours, which is just not my edge. It's not where I belong in the markets. We talk a lot about these crazy movers here in pre-market because you guys like to watch them and you think they're awesome and crazy. But in terms of actually trading them, Huddie will step into some of these as a short seller on day one from a systematic approach. But for the most part, we're not buying a lot of this stuff. I think the buys are long gone on a lot of these low float craziness from last week into this week. But yeah, a lot of them will just be on a watch. Like I won't even really watch them, to be honest with you. Like TWG, TGL, and I'll check noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Are they still up? Are they still squeezing shorts? What is the deal here? Because as we move in, it doesn't mean later in the week there won't be something there for me, whether it's a reversal, whether it's another breakout like SMX, or a first red day if they put together a few green days in a row and have an obvious red move. But on day one here, I'll leave them to the birds because I just think this is when they're the most sketchy and when they're the most unpredictable for me. If you have an edge there, then you have an edge there. Okay. Probably going to head on out of here in a minute. Drummer Max says CETX is a Reddit pump. Wouldn't surprise me. Easy to get some of these things on the move. And then, with those low floats and low share counts, easy to move them as the supply is quite small. Mm-hmm. Someone says, when you think the market is slow, that's because you're looking in the wrong vertical. The moving vertical is healthcare. That's a fun opinion. We've been trading for a long time, and just because we don't want to trade what you want to trade doesn't necessarily mean we're looking in the wrong place. You mentioned IBIO. I would never look at this. Yeah, it might be a breakout over the 180s, but you're talking about a stock that probably more mid-cappy. I don't even know what it is, but just not a really predictable mover. Not something I would be all that interested in. These runs kind of suck. There's no predictable days. Volume can be okay, but you mentioned WVE. Yeah, this isn't what we're looking for. These are stocks that are trading volume every single day. There's a market for them. They're higher priced. Not to say there's not plays for you. You mentioned ARWR. Not really for us. It's just not our speed. Again, we're looking for a very specific genetic makeup of these stocks that are not doing volume most of the time, then all of a sudden on radar. Momentum stocks. And yeah, some of the charts you brought up do have momentum, and they are uptrends, and they are breaking out, but they are not what we are looking for. And there's room for everybody in the markets. Just because it's not what you're looking at, and these things look good if you've been long or you are long, I'm happy for you. But A, we didn't say the market was slow, and B, we stay in our lane. You start jumping around from lane to lane, you're most likely not going to find success. Most people don't have the skills to do it. You need to find your lane that makes sense. Sit back, be patient, wait for it, and then pounce on it when you do have your edge there. But it is 9:20, so we're going to head on over to the Clover room. We got low float madness, so we will keep those stocks on watch going into the rest of the week. We'll be live again tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. for another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq. We already did the quote, so if you missed it, you're going to need to go back and watch it from the start to get that quote in there. And it was motivating. Be the wolf. Okay, everybody, find that wolf inside of you. Climb that mountain. Be like a Miley Cyrus and go for gold. Anything else, Huddy?
No, that's it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.